Hey guys, Elizabeth with catalystcac here, and I just got off a call with a client. He's a residential custom home builder. He's been doing it for about 15 years, and he asked me to explain what a purchase order or committed cost is, how it affects his financials, and how to know when to choose a purchase order and when to choose a bill. And I thought, if this guy's been doing this for 15 years and he is unclear on how tracking purchase orders helps you keep your bid day margin, then there are probably others. So join me. We're going to look at what a purchase order is, what a bill is, and how I decide which one to use. All right, so I actually do get this question rather often. When a vendor or a subcontractor sends in specific documents into the billing inbox, the financial ops coordinator or the construction bookkeeper needs to decide whether to record those documents as a purchase order or a committed cost, or whether it should be a bill. So we're going to go over what a bill is versus what a purchase order is so that we're all on the same page. And then I will walk you through how I decide which form to use to record that type of transaction. All right, so what is a bill? A bill is an actual cost incurred. Let me make myself smaller. Okay, so a bill is an actual incurred cost. The vendor or the subcontractor is requesting payment for labor that has been performed or materials that have been delivered. So you can see where bills have been recorded because they show up in the actual cost column in the project reports. So if you look at this job report here on the right, you can see this actual cost to date column. This number here, this 43,000 that I circle with a pretty red circle, shows up here because it is a bill or a few bills that have been recorded. It increased the line items on our budget with actual costs. So a bill has a specific due date, and it assumes that the work has been completed or that the materials have been delivered and that the payment on that document is actually due, and it's due on that specified due date. All right, so a bill, actual cost incurred for an actual amount that's due on a specific day. What happens financially when a bill is created? So a bill affects the financials immediately. It is known as a posting transaction. So it will increase our accounts payable, which is a current liability account on the balance sheet. That's fancy for just saying the money that we owe other people. So you can see down here on the right, we have Jones Construction's balance sheet, and we have the liabilities, and under current liabilities, we have accounts payable. Accounts payable means we owe other people that money. So we owe other people $85,000, $981.39. If I were to record a bill for $5,000, this $85,000 would increase to $90,000 because we would owe other people more money. Okay, so that's what happens when a bill is recorded. It also affects the accounts payable aging summary report. Now, this is a detailed report that shows the vendors, and it shows what we owe them and how old, whether that the amount that we owe them is current or not due yet, or whether it is overdue. And you can see that Jones Construction needs to start paying their bills because they're all 1 to 30 days late. But these numbers here in this report got here from recorded bills. It says that we owe these vendors this amount of money. All right, so bills also affect the accounts receivable cycle. And so if you have a cost plus contract, then a transaction needs to be recorded as a bill because the contract states that we are going to charge the homeowner for actual costs plus a markup. So cost plus contracts must add the cost by bill. That's important to remember. If you're a lump sum contract, you have a little bit more freedom because you can add line items and charge more than what you've actually incurred, or less. You can determine that on your own or based on a different payment schedule. All right, so that's what a bill is. What is a purchase order or a committed cost? I'm going to call it a purchase order because that's what a lot of the project management softwares call it. So it is an agreement to perform a specific scope of work for a certain price, and it is associated with a specific cost code on the budget. It is just an agreement. It is not an incurred cost, but it is a future expected cost. So it is not a cost yet, so it's not a bill yet, but we believe that this agreement will turn into a bill or an actual cost in the future. So it's an agreement between the project manager, the subcontractor, and sometimes that agreement includes the homeowner. So purchase orders are tracked on job reports, but they're tracked in a different column. You can see that they are not in the actual cost to date column, but it gets its own columns. Yay. Purchase orders here, my pretty red circle. You can see the purchase order column that we have here, a purchase order for $86,000. That means we have an agreement with a sub that they will perform a certain scope of work that sits on whatever this cost code is. It could be a drywall sub. For $86,000. We can also see on the job report the open balance. So we have an open balance of $43,000. That means that some of this money has turned from a future cost to an actual cost. It's turned into a bill. So what we do is take a bill and we attach it to the purchase order to reduce the balance of the purchase order, the balance of the future cost. So now we know that we have already paid them $43,000, and we expect in the future that we will pay them $43,000 more, but we have not incurred that cost yet. Okay. So a purchase order tracks committed but not incurred costs on the project. Their agreements with expected future costs. The work has not been done yet. So knowing and tracking our future costs is super important in project management in residential construction because it helps reduce potential profit fade. So while they are not actual costs yet, knowing and tracking what we think our future costs will be will help us to make decisions to stay in budget, to reduce profit fade. It also helps us track to make sure that our subcontractors are not overbilling us and that we don't miss change orders. Okay. So what happens when a purchase order is created financially? How do purchase orders affect the financials? They don't. That's the beauty of them. They're non-posting. They do not show up in accounts payable as money that we owe the vendor. They will not increase our current liability on balance sheet. It remains unchanged. So it will not show on a balance sheet. It will not show on an accounts payable aging summary. It will not show in the actual cost column for job reports, but it will also not show as an actual cost to be added to a draw request if you have a cost plus contract. So that's important. So only actual costs from bills should be added to a construction draw request if you are cost plus. So purchase orders cannot be added to draw requests unless you do some workaround extra steps. Why? Because a cost plus contract by definition is charging actual costs plus a markup. You can't charge a cost that you haven't incurred yet, and you should not incur a markup or gain a construction income on costs that you have not incurred yet. However, there are times where the project manager may want to collect on a purchase order with special approval from the homeowner. Like this happens with like large purchases. If they expect a huge purchase to happen and there's going to be a long timeline, let's say we just sent them a draw request and now we have a $50,000 deposit for the cabinets. The project manager may request from the homeowner that we go ahead and bill them for that $50,000 so that we can pay the cabinet guy $50,000 to get working on that order. So that would be a special circumstance that would go outside of the norm and that would need a specific agreement from the homeowner to accept that charge. So when that happens, we either need to create a bill off of the purchase order. So we need to create a purchase order for the full amount and then create a bill attached to the purchase order to reduce the amount of the purchase order due so that we can add that bill to the draw. But remember, that bill is going to increase our accounts payable, what we owe other people. On the financials, it's going to look like we owe more money to other people from the time we record that bill. And it will also increase the accounts payable aging summary report. So the other way we could do it is adding the purchase order as a separate PDF, and it needs to be manually added to the draw, which could create issues with tracking later. So I do not recommend doing that. With a lump sum contract, you have a little bit more freedom because you can create empty lines without having actual cost backup PDFs in the draw request. All right, so that's what a purchase order is. We've covered what a bill is. Now let's look at these situations, and I'm just going to tell you what I would do. What I do is ask myself specific questions, and depending on the answers, that tells me how to record the transaction. So, is the invoiced work done already? If it is done, then it's a bill because it's an incurred cost and the labor's been performed or the material's been delivered. Does the document have a specific due date? If the document has a specific due date and the work on there is done and there's an amount, then it's a bill. Will the sub be sending more than one bill for the work being done in the agreement? If the subcontractor is going to send a deposit bill, a second payment, a third payment request, if he's going to be sending more than one request for payment, then I make a purchase order for the entire amount. And then every time he sends the bill, I attach it to the purchase order to reduce the balance of the purchase order. And then number 4, how much time will pass between the payment due dates? If it's less than a month, then I will make them a bill. If it's more than a month, then I will create a purchase order for the total and then record bills to reduce the purchase order balance with their respective due dates. So if there is a due date way far out in the future, or if it's, this happens with appliances and they order the washer and dryer and they send us the bill, but it has a ship date that's 4 months out and we're not actually sure if we're even going to get it at that point. So we are not going to pay it right now. We don't pay it until the material is delivered. So I'm going to create a purchase order for the amount of the washer and the dryer. And then once it's been delivered and the ship date or the delivery has been confirmed, then I will create a bill, and usually they will send us a confirmation, and that becomes the bill that attaches to the purchase order and reduces the balance to 0, and then we pay it. But I do not want to hyperinflate my accounts payable and make it look like we owe other people more money than we do. And we don't owe them until the material is delivered. So that's how I would handle that one. Number 5, here's a kink. Here's a special issue with cost plus contracts. How am I charging the homeowner or investor? So this is super important, because if the project manager wants to put it all on one draw request, then we either need to make it a bill so that we can add the entire amount to the draw request, or we need to create a purchase order and then create bills off of the purchase order to reduce that amount down to 0. So let's say different portions are due on different due dates, and he wants to bill the entire 100% upfront. Then we will create a purchase order for the entire amount. Then we can create the bills with their respective due dates to reduce that purchase order and then put all of them on one construction draw for the homeowner to pay all at one time. The second way is if the project manager only wants to bill for a portion of the draw request. So if we get a bill and the project manager wants to split that into 2 different draw requests, we're creating a purchase order. So even if we're going to pay them both at one time, we're creating a purchase order. So we're going to create a purchase order for the entire amount. Then we are going to take and create 2 different bills, or however many different bills, to attach them to the purchase order and reduce that future cost value so that we can add half of it to the first draw, and then we can wait 30 days and add the second one, however the project manager wants to do it. But if he wants to split up how we are billing the homeowner, then we need to have the actual costs split up as well. So we'll create a purchase order. All right, here's some more situations and what I would do. So let's say the sub sends the entire amount on one document. It looks like a bill. It feels like a bill. It has a due date. It has an amount. And down at the bottom, it says 20% deposit due now, 80% upon completion. What do? I would create a purchase order. I would take that, create a purchase order for the 100%. Then I would use that same PDF document and create a bill for the 20% and reduce the purchase order amount down by that 20%. If we do have a due date for the remaining upon completion, if it says 80% due on October 13th, then I will go ahead and create that second bill to reduce the purchase order down again and put that second due date, because it would have 2 separate due dates. So it needs to be 2 separate bills, but we want to make sure that we track the full amount that he has agreed to. The second one, if the amount is minimal, excuse me, let's say that the project manager subcontracts with a vendor to build custom bunk beds for $4,000. And he sends the agreement into the billing inbox. I'm going to create a purchase order because the work has not been done yet. And he's done. He can send me a bill, or you can contact me and I can create a bill and reduce the purchase order down. But until he has done the work and incurred the cost, it is a future cost that we expect to incur. Okay, number 3, there are differences between order date, ship date, delivery, installation dates. These are purchase orders. And I explained that earlier with the appliances, and that I will create a purchase order when the order date goes in with the amount. And then once the material has been delivered, or it has been delivered and installed, and they send us a final, then I will attach that to the purchase order. And often there is a difference, especially if it includes installation. They may have used less labor or more labor. And so we may save on that future cost, but if they overbill us, then I can draw that to the project manager's attention and ask whether we should push back on the extra labor that they are trying to bill us for. All right, number 4, the GC needs to show financials to investors or lenders. Create purchase orders wherever possible. If you don't have an incurred cost with a payment amount and a specific due date, it's a purchase order. Why? Because purchase orders do not affect the financials, but they still allow us to track costs that we expect to incur on the project. So it will not increase accounts payable, so their current liability will be less, and it will not show on the balance sheet. And then usually investors and lenders don't need to see the accounts payable aging summary report, but if they did, they would not see that vendor with that extra bill or bill amount on there. Also, the work hasn't been completed. If the work hasn't been completed, the amount's not due. So this is the most accurate way of recording. So if you still don't know after all of this, then ask. We will definitely help you. We would love to help you. We are actually launching an online community specifically to help residential offices transform their financial operations from chaos to clarity, one workflow at a time. It's specifically designed to offer the training, support, and collaboration for your office. So we have not launched the community yet, but we do have a website where you can join the waitlist. It is a school.com community, SKOOL.com, and that's / the chaos to clarity project with hyphens in between the words / about. So we are opening registration for the community on September 10th. But if you join the waitlist before then, you will get a VIP email with an exclusive code to save money between September 10th and September 19th. So click the link, join the wait list. Then September 10th, you'll get a VIP exclusive email. Use the code SAVE MONEY to join the community. We'd love to have you. Okay, so this is what you're going to see. You're going to see what our community is about. You can see a little like blurb here on what it is. Click here, join group. When you do that, if you don't have a school account, it's going to ask you to create one. Do it. It's free. You can discover lots of different communities, but create a school account if you don't have one. And then you're going to get a couple different questions. Please answer them. It helps us out so much as we are putting in training materials and the direction that we are going to take this community so it can be the most helpful for you. Also, we are launching the community with a construction bookkeepers bootcamp live. So the registration is open September 10th through the 19th with the VIP exclusive code. The live online bootcamp is September 22nd through September 26th. It is recorded and it will be uploaded into the classroom for everybody who joins after. But you will not have the VIP exclusive code if you join after the 19th. So go ahead, click the link, join the community. I want to see you on the inside so I can help you with your purchase order, your bill transaction workflows, and all the other workflows that go with residential construction offices.